I want you to picture two people, same city, same neighborhood, similar cost of living, similar bills, similar rent, similar everything. The first person earns $95,000 a year. You walk into their apartment and there's a massive television on the wall. We're talking 75 inches. A leather sectional that costs more than most people's first car. A kitchen stuffed with appliances, most of which are still in the original packaging. Closets so full that half the clothes still have the tags on them. A whole spare bedroom that's basically just a storage unit at this point. And this person, they check their bank account with a knot in their stomach. 2 missed paychecks and their whole life starts falling apart. They're stressed about money constantly. They earn almost 6 figures and they feel completely broke. Now, the second person, they earn $52,000 a year. You walk into their apartment and the first thing you notice is space. A normal-sized couch, a reasonable television, a kitchen with the tools that actually get used, clothes in the closet that actually get worn. The spare bedroom is a bedroom. This person checks their bank account the way you check the weather. Calm, unbothered. They've got 18 months of expenses saved. They invest 20% of every paycheck without even thinking about it. Same neighborhood, same city. The person earning almost half as much has 10 times the financial security. So what's actually going on here? Because this isn't really about income. This isn't about one person being smarter than the other or luckier than the other. This is about a hidden relationship between the stuff you own and the money you have. And most people never figure this out. They spend their entire lives on the wrong side of that equation, wondering why nothing ever adds up. That's exactly what this video is about. I'm going to walk you through the rules that separate people who always seem to have money from people who never do, no matter how much they earn. And I promise, some of this is going to completely change how you think about every purchase you make from this point forward. My name is Marcus, and before we get into it, quick note. Nothing in this video is financial advice. This is purely educational. I'm here to break down the psychology and the math behind money so you can make better informed decisions on your own. All right, let's go. Here's the concept I want to start with. Because once it clicks, you can't unsee it. Everything you own costs you money twice. The first cost is obvious. It's the price tag. The number on the receipt, you already know about that one. But there's a second cost that most people completely ignore. And here's the wild part. The second cost is often bigger than the first. The second cost is everything that comes after the purchase. The storage, the maintenance, the mental energy, and the opportunity cost of the money you spent. Let me break each of those down so this is real and not just abstract. Storage first. Space in your home costs money, roughly $30 to $50 per square foot per year in most cities when you factor in what you're paying in rent or mortgage. That treadmill in the corner of your bedroom, it takes up about 20 square feet once you account for the clearance space around it. That's $600 to $1,000 a year in what I'd call implicit rent, money you're effectively paying just to store a piece of exercise equipment that mostly hangs clothes. You paid for the treadmill once, but you keep paying for it every single month. Then there's maintenance. You've probably heard people say owning a boat is like standing in a cold shower tearing up $100 bills. The industry rule of thumb is that annual maintenance on a boat runs about 10% of its purchase value every year. So a $30,000 boat costs you $3,000 a year just to own, before you ever touch the water, before fuel, before dock fees, before anything, just to have it sitting there. Then there's mental energy. And I know this one sounds soft, but the research is actually pretty clear on this. Every item you own takes up a small slice of your attention. It needs to be cleaned, organized, maintained, insured, worried about, eventually gotten rid of. Researchers have found that visual clutter raises cortisol. That's the stress hormone and reduces your brain's ability to focus. Your stuff is literally stressing you out in ways you're not even consciously aware of. And then there's the big one, opportunity cost. Every dollar locked up in a possession is a dollar that isn't invested somewhere else. That $15,000 home gym setup, that same $15,000 invested in a simple index fund at 10% average returns grows to somewhere around $50,000 to $65,000 over 15 years. You didn't just buy a home gym. You bought a home gym instead of a down payment on your future financial freedom. When you add all of that up, the storage, the maintenance, the mental load, the opportunity cost, a lot of possessions end up costing more to own than they cost to buy. The purchase price is just the entry fee. The second cost runs forever for as long as you own the thing. People who are good with money understand this intuitively. They're not refusing to buy nice things because they hate nice things. They're doing math that most people never do, and the math is telling them that most purchases aren't worth it. Here's the first rule, and it's the one that immediately kills most impulse purchases. Before you buy anything, estimate how many times you're realistically going to use it. Be honest with yourself. Then divide the total cost by that number. That gives you the cost per use, and cost per use is the only honest measure of whether something is actually worth buying. Let me show you why this is so useful. A $200 jacket you wear twice costs $100 per wear. A $400 jacket you wear 200 times costs $2 per wear. The more expensive jacket is actually significantly cheaper in any real sense. The sticker price is almost irrelevant. What matters is how the cost spreads across actual use. Run the same calculation on a $300 kitchen gadget you'd realistically use twice a year. That's $150 per use. That's an absurdly expensive way to accomplish whatever that gadget does. Meanwhile, a $30 tool you use every week costs less than 60 cents per use. The cheap tool is a much better purchase than the expensive gadget. And that's obvious once you do the math. The calculation also shows you when expensive things are genuinely worth it. A $2,000 mattress you sleep on every night for 10 years costs about 55 cents per use. That's extraordinary value for something that directly affects your health and your energy every single day. A $1,500 espresso machine you use daily for 5 years costs less than $1 per use, probably saving you money compared to coffee shops. This is the thing about cost per use. It cuts right through the marketing, through the emotion, through the social pressure. It just answers the question, does this actually make financial sense, or does it just feel good in the moment? Here's a rule for the stuff you already own, not just the stuff you're thinking about buying. Walk through your home and look at each item. And for each one, ask yourself one simple question. If this disappeared today, would I spend money to replace it? Be honest. Would you actually go buy another fondue set? Would you replace the bread maker that's been sitting in that cabinet for 3 years? Would you repurchase the clothes in the back of your closet that you haven't touched in 18 months? For most items, if you're being genuinely honest, the answer is no. You would not replace them. They're in your life because of inertia, not because you actually want them. They were impulse buys. Gifts you felt weird getting rid of, leftover relics of hobbies you moved on from years ago. And here's the thing about items like that. They have negative value. They cost you space and mental energy and maintenance without giving you anything back. Every hour you spend cleaning around them, organizing them, thinking about them, that's time stolen from things that actually matter. When you identify items that fail the replacement test, get them out. Sell what's worth selling. Donate what someone else could actually use. Discard the rest. The process feels uncomfortable the first time. Then it feels like putting down a bag you didn't realize you were carrying. Rooms feel bigger. Decisions feel simpler. Cleaning takes half the time. You know where everything is because everything that's left actually has a reason to be there. This one is going to hit some people pretty hard. There's a pattern I see constantly in people who earn good money but have almost nothing saved. They upgrade perfectly functional things, not because those things stopped working, but because they got bored with them, or because a newer version came out. The television works fine, but the new model has slightly better contrast. The phone is completely functional, but the new release has a marginally improved camera. The car is running great, but this year's model has updated styling. The furniture does its job, but they've grown tired of looking at it. These upgrades feel like improvements. They are not improvements. They are wealth destruction dressed up as progress. The rule here is simple. Never replace something that functions properly. The phone that makes calls, sends messages, and runs your apps does not need to be replaced because a newer phone exists. The car that gets you where you need to go reliably does not need to be replaced because your neighbor bought something shinier. Here's the math on just phones alone. The average American replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years, very often while the previous phone works perfectly. Over 30 years, that pattern costs somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 in completely unnecessary purchases. That's just phones. Apply the same upgrade mentality across cars, furniture, appliances, clothes, electronics. The lifetime waste easily exceeds $200,000. The way out of this trap is to define what broken actually means. An item is broken when it genuinely cannot perform the function it's supposed to perform. That's it. Boredom is not broken. Desire for something newer is not broken. The existence of a better version is not broken. Actual mechanical failure, that's broken. Everything else is marketing convincing you to solve problems you don't have. Human beings follow the path of least resistance. That's not a moral failing. That's just how we're wired. If spending is frictionless and saving requires effort, you will spend. If saving is automatic and spending requires effort, you will save. The people who are consistently good with money don't rely on willpower. They don't wake up every morning and commit to being disciplined. They build systems that make the right choice the easy choice. Here's what spending friction looks like. Remove your saved credit card numbers from every online retailer. Delete the shopping apps from your phone. Unsubscribe from every promotional email. Don't go to stores unless you have a specific intentional purchase in mind. And implement a 24-hour rule. Before any non-essential purchase, you wait 24 hours. No exceptions. And here's what saving ease looks like. Automatic transfers to your investment accounts happen on payday. Before you ever see the money, you keep only a small amount in your easily accessible checking account. Contributions to savings and investment happen automatically, like a bill, not as an afterthought at the end of the month. These structural changes matter more than willpower ever could. Willpower depletes. It runs down throughout the day. By 9 p.m. after a hard day, your willpower is not what it was at 8 a.m., but your environment doesn't get tired. The person who relies on willpower to avoid impulse purchases will eventually fail when they're exhausted, when they're stressed, when they're emotional. The person who deleted the apps and removed the credit card numbers just can't impulse purchase in that moment. The temptation has nowhere to land. The 24-hour waiting rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases. Most desire for objects fades within a day if you don't act on it immediately. The urgency you feel in the moment is almost entirely manufactured. The next day, you barely remember what you wanted so badly. I know this sounds like something obsessive people do. Stick with me. Counting forces awareness. Awareness prevents accumulation, and most people have genuinely no idea how much they own until they actually count it. Pick a category. Any category. Count how many items you own in that category right now. Write the number down. The results usually shock people who've never done this before. How many shirts do you own? Most people guess somewhere around 15 and find out they have 40 or 50. How many kitchen gadgets? How many pairs of shoes? How many items are in your junk drawer that you've never categorized or thought about? How many books that you finished and will never open again? And here's the thing. The count itself changes your behavior going forward. Once you know you own 47 shirts, buying another one feels different. You're not adding a shirt. You're bringing your collection to 48. The absurdity becomes visible in a way it wasn't before. People who are intentional about this set thresholds. Maybe 30 items of clothing total. Maybe 15 books at any given time. Maybe a strict one-in, one-out policy where any new purchase requires removing something that already exists. These limits prevent the slow creep of accumulation that most people never notice until it's completely overwhelming. Without intentional limits, possessions expand to fill whatever space is available. That's just the natural direction of things. But with limits, every addition becomes a conscious choice about what it's replacing. And that friction alone dramatically slows down how much stuff enters your life. Most things people purchase get used intensely for a short period, usually right after purchase when the enthusiasm is high, and then rarely afterward. The excitement of owning something new fades. The initial energy decreases, and the item joins the collection of things owned but rarely touched. The way to avoid this pattern is to test before you commit. Want to get into camping? Rent gear for the first 2 or 3 trips. Want to try woodworking? Borrow tools from someone or use a shared workshop space. Rent one several times before you decide to buy. This accomplishes 2 things. First, it reveals whether your enthusiasm is genuine or just novelty. A lot of interest fade after the initial exploration, and it's much better to discover that while you're renting than after you've spent $1,500 on gear that now lives in your garage. Second, it tells you exactly what you actually need. First-time campers almost always buy too much or buy the wrong things. Renting lets you learn before you commit real money. When you eventually do purchase, you buy exactly what's necessary rather than your best guess. Think about how much of what's in garages and closets right now represents this exact pattern. Ski equipment from the year someone decided they were going to ski regularly. Photography gear from when someone imagined themselves becoming serious about it. Musical instruments from bands that played maybe 2 shows. Most of us have been in this situation at some point. The buy first mentality costs people enormously over their lifetimes. Renting first is how you escape it. Here's one that people almost never account for when they're making purchase decisions. Every major possession connects to other possessions. Purchases don't happen in isolation. They trigger ecosystems of related expenses. Take a boat. A boat requires a trailer. The trailer requires a hitch on your vehicle. Storage costs money. Maintenance needs supplies. You need safety equipment. You need appropriate clothing. What looks like a single purchase is actually the beginning of a whole cascade of expenses. The same thing plays out with a home gym. You need flooring that can handle the equipment, proper ventilation, Storage for smaller items, often some kind of renovation to make the space actually usable. A purchase that seems straightforward when you were looking at the sticker price turns out to be significantly more expensive when you add up the full ecosystem. Same with a pool. Chemical supplies, cleaning equipment, covers, furniture to go around it, landscaping to make the whole area look right. The pool cost was just the beginning. Before any major purchase, calculate the full ecosystem, not just the item itself. A $5,000 purchase might actually represent $9,000 or $12,000 when all the related expenses are included. That full accounting often transforms something that seemed reasonable into something that very clearly doesn't make sense. And the multiplier works in reverse too. Eliminating one major possession can eliminate an entire category of related expenses. If you sell the boat, you're not just removing the boat. You're removing the storage fees, the insurance, the registration, the annual maintenance, the towing costs. The savings go much further than the item itself. Here's a trap that catches high earners constantly. They never define what enough actually looks like. So no matter how much they earn, they just keep consuming more without ever arriving at actual satisfaction. Their income goes up, so their lifestyle goes up. The upgraded lifestyle becomes the new normal, so they need more income to feel like they're making progress. The cycle never stops. People earning $300,000 a year feel just as financially pressured as people earning $70,000 a year because their expectations and their expenses expanded right alongside their income. The way out of this is to define enough before your income grows. Decide in advance what kind of home is actually sufficient for your life. What kind of car genuinely meets your needs. What level of material comfort constitutes real satisfaction? Not theoretical maximum satisfaction, but the point where you honestly feel good about where you are. Then earn toward that target instead of constantly moving it. This might mean deciding that a $350,000 home is enough even when you could eventually afford $600,000. It might mean deciding that a $30,000 car meets your needs even when colleagues are driving $70,000 vehicles. It might mean deciding your current wardrobe is genuinely fine, even as your income could technically support upgrading it constantly. Defining enough creates a finish line. Without one, you're running a race that never ends. Lifestyle expansion always outpacing income growth. Always one level of earnings away from feeling okay. With a finish line, something genuinely powerful happens. The person who defined enough at $60,000 of annual spending and then started earning $150,000 has $90,000 per year flowing directly into savings and investments. The same income going to someone who keeps redefining enough upward might produce almost nothing. Same income, completely different financial trajectory. The only difference is whether you define the finish line or not. Most people measure wealth by what they have. The house, the car, the visible markers that communicate success to other people. But I want to give you a completely different way to think about wealth. One that actually tells you something meaningful about your financial position. Measure wealth by what you can choose. Can you leave a job that's destroying your mental health and take 3 months to figure out your next move? Can you handle a family emergency without it becoming a financial crisis? Can you move to a different city for an opportunity without your whole life falling apart? Can you start something on your own without needing guaranteed income from day one? Can you retire before 65? Can you say no to a lucrative opportunity that conflicts with your values? These are the options that represent actual wealth. And they're only available to people who've built meaningful margin between what they earn and what they spend. The person earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost no optionality. They're completely chained to their income level. One bad month, one job loss, one unexpected expense, and everything is at risk. The person earning $80,000 but spending $45,000 can absorb disruptions. They can take risks. They can make choices based on what they actually want rather than what they can barely afford. This perspective changes every spending decision you make, because every purchase isn't just exchanging money for an object. It's trading optionality. It's trading your ability to make free choices about your life for possession. And when you think about it that way, most purchases don't survive that framing. Is this thing worth reducing what I can choose to do with my life? Sometimes yes. Usually no. Most people who ever try to get intentional about their possessions do one big purge, feel incredible for a few weeks, and then slowly accumulate right back to where they started. The purge felt productive. The gradual reaccumulation went completely unnoticed. Within 2 years, they're right back where they began, and the whole thing feels pointless. The reason this happens is that one massive purge doesn't change the habits and patterns that caused the accumulation in the first place. It just empties the bucket temporarily. The alternative is small, regular reviews that happen in cycles, a quick look at what came into your home each week, a more thorough evaluation of one category each month, a broader assessment of overall accumulation patterns each quarter. This approach catches things early before they rebuild to an overwhelming level. Removing 3 or 4 items per week is manageable. You barely notice it. Removing 300 items once a year feels like a massive project that gets postponed indefinitely. But there's a deeper benefit to the cyclical approach. It builds awareness. When you're evaluating your possessions regularly, you start noticing patterns. You see which categories in your life tend to grow. You figure out which emotional states make you want to buy things: stress, boredom, a bad week at work. You recognize which marketing tactics actually work on you specifically. And that awareness enables prevention rather than just cleanup. It's the difference between understanding why water keeps getting on the floor versus just mopping it up over and over again. Remember those 2 apartments I described at the beginning? The person earning $52,000 with 18 months of savings and genuine financial calm didn't get there because they were born lucky or because they had some unusual advantage. They got there because they understood something that most people around them never figured out. They understood that clarity about what actually matters is worth more than income. They understood that every object has a second cost. They understood that owning less doesn't mean living worse. It means living deliberately. The other apartment, the one belonging to the person earning $95,000 who can't cover 2 missed paychecks, belongs to someone who never questioned the idea that more stuff equals better life. They kept consuming because consuming is what everyone around them was doing, and the math caught up with them quietly over years, in a way that's very hard to undo once it's there. Both of those paths are available to you right now, regardless of what you earn. The only real question is whether you want to own your possessions or whether you're okay with your possessions owning you. If this video changed how you're thinking about any of this, if something clicked in a way it hadn't before, hit that like button and subscribe, because this is exactly what I'm here to do. Drop a comment and let me know which of these rules hit closest to home for you. I read all of them. See you in the next one.